Hello, everybody. My name is Bruce Montgomery, and this is my colleague, Tracy Priest.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year indeed. And we're with The Road to Retail. On our podcast, Tracy and I hope to offer tips, insights, ideas, and examples of how small, emerging, and challenger CPG, consumer packaged goods, brands can build their business. Everything from determining if you're ready to grow, where to start, how to prove it online, how to go about securing distribution at a national retailer, driving your business through to the consumer, and how to go about finding an investor if that's important to you. The bottom line is, Tracy and I have been doing this a long time. We've made a lot of mistakes. We've done a lot of good things too, I hope. And we'd love to help you be successful by highlighting the many important aspects on this journey to establishing your brand at retail. Tracy?
Yeah, so what Bruce means by a long time is 30 plus years of experience in CPG commercial operations. And what do we mean by commercial operations? We mean sales, marketing, trade marketing, managing brokers and distributors, managing advertising agencies and selecting agencies, as well as divestitures, product development. So we've got a little bit of experience in a lot of the areas. And like Bruce said, that's our goal, is to share that with you. Also on our episodes, we invite colleagues and friends from the industry, brand founders, service providers, and they come on our show and also share with you, our audience, their insights and experiences as well. So our passion is really for small emerging brands, to help them, as Bruce said. And today, I think we've got a great conversation to go between Bruce and I. So Bruce, tell our audience today, what are we going to talk about?
Great. So again, as the year wraps up, hopefully everyone had a great holiday season. But as we all joke about in various ways, turn the page, back on the treadmill, here we go. And after the holidays, I could use some time on the treadmill. So everyone sends out lots of year-end summaries of what went well, what you might have liked to have done differently, what you want to repeat that went well. We're going to twist it around just a little bit, and we're going to buzz through the checklist of things as you jump into 2024, which hopefully you already have done and in the bag and you're ready to go. But in the event they're not quite as buttoned up as you'd like, we hope you find that this recap of a checklist helpful to you. Trace, what's first on the list here, my friend?
Yeah, so the first thing you want to make sure that you're really clear on is that you have submitted all of your plans, promotional plans, to retailers and distributors for the year. So one thing that you need to keep in mind is that retailers work 90 to 120 days out for submissions for promotions for the year. Distributors work out even further, 6 months. So for example, a Unifying KeHE, they're taking submissions now for promotions for June, July, and August. So that's how far they work out. So you got to make sure that all of your plans are in place. Also keep in mind, sometimes retailers do not communicate back to you that they've approved your promotional submission. So you want to either connect with your buyer or go on the retailer's portal and just make sure that all of your promotions for 2024 have been submitted. That's a critical piece to making sure your year is successful. Bruce?
Yep. Yeah, thanks, Tracy. What Tracy's really saying, and it doesn't matter if you're in 10 retailers or if you're just getting into your first one, trust but verify. And the smaller you are, the more important this is, because the first question other retailers will likely ask is, where are you right now and how are you doing? So it's really important that the first places you go to are logical and that they get off to a really good start. So you just have to follow up. And again, you can do that. Everyone out there has the ability to walk that fine line of being thorough without being a pain in the neck. But you just want to make sure every single thing is ready to go. The next thing to understand is, do you understand what success looks like? Okay. So this can have a couple of different things. And a lot of, when we interviewed buyers at major retailers, we were shocked when they said, do you know how many people don't even ask me what success looks like? It's not a secret, folks, but you have to ask, right? You know, so what is your velocity hurdle? And by velocity hurdle means, what's the rate of sale you need to achieve and by when. So it's usually measured in pieces per store per week, dollars per store per week. And then they'll say, you got to be at this threshold within 6 months. You need to lock all of that information into your head and monitor it like crazy. Because if you don't hit velocity hurdles, the warning bells start going off and you'll start getting nudges as to what's going on. It's also very important for you to know how your paper is being graded, right? Other things that can go wrong, make sure you understand the key parts on a retailer's scorecard. Scorecard's just the few things, the few critical things that they watch, like are your deliveries coming in on time and in full and accurately? Are you paying your bills? Is your product resulting in lots of complaints from consumers or store managers that boxes are crushed? All kinds of things like that. I'm going to let Tracy talk about his favorite topic, which is understanding the cost of failure. He couldn't find his Grim Reaper uniform this morning, so we'll find that for future episodes.
Absolutely. So one thing I want to point out to our audience is that the timeline that you have to be successful is getting shorter and shorter, right, Bruce?
Yes.
Sometimes you get 3 months, sometimes you get 6 months. Some retailers will give you a year from, your category review schedule to the next one. But I will tell you, folks, retailers are getting more conservative and giving shorter and shorter time to make sure that the brand is being successful. And the cost of failure, let me just tell you, is they're going to mark down the product 50% usually. That's going to be on your nickel. So they're going to charge you for that. Then they're going to take the product off the shelf, send it to their reclamation center, and then they're going to work with you and arrange for them to ship the product back to you, again, on your nickel. So the cost of failure can be really, really, really expensive. So you just have to make sure, like Bruce said, that you are making those hurdle rates, check in with your buyer. A lot of retailers, major retailers now have a portal where you can go on and look at, the movement and how you're doing. So just make sure that you're being very watchful and cognizant of how the brand is moving. As Bruce and I always say, one of our bumper stickers is, it's not about sell in, it's about sell through. And if your brand is not performing, then you need to make adjustments, either increase your trade support with the retailer or up your marketing support as well to make sure that product is being pulled off the shelf.
Yeah, and one other thing about this, and you don't want to think bad thoughts this early in the year, but if you have an instance where a particular item or maybe unfortunately your brand in total is failing, if you're given the option by the retailer to destroy it or take it back, take it back. Because most of the times everyone's honest and the product will in fact get destroyed and you'll get paperwork that allegedly proves that. But every now and then, suddenly your product that was discontinued and you were billed for it is available online for 50% less than you're able to sell it for. And you just have to sweat that out. You have to soak that inventory up. So while understanding failure is not fun, it is critical because you're already sad that it's failing. You'll be really sad if you don't understand what the expenses could be.
Exactly.
TP, what's next here in the batting order?
Yeah. So another thing that you need to be very aware of and cognizant of, if you have expanded your distribution either at a retailer or with a distributor this year, you need to make sure that you have adjusted your forecast with your manufacturer or your co-man so that you are not you're not shorting or not being able to meet the shipping rate that the retailer is looking for. So typically you need to have a fill rate, they call it, of 85 to 90%. If you're below that, you are on a naughty list. So make sure that you're over communicating to your co-man or co-manufacturer what your forecast is and that you have, absolutely updated it. One thing also that I see a lot lately with brands that I work with is they are looking for secondary suppliers. Because a lot of the suppliers these days are still having issues getting ingredients, time on the manufacturing line. So make sure that if you don't have a backup, that you are working on that just in case things get really, really bad. And you may also be able to negotiate, a better price than what you have now. So just make sure that you have all your ducks in a row when it comes to your manufacturing facilities and processes.
Yep. And Tracy makes an excellent point there on the fill rate. It's also called shorting. If you do not ship your first order complete, accurate, and on time to a retailer that you're just starting to do business with, that is death. It is a death wish to get off to that bad start, because now not only are you on the naughty list, there's a flashing red light that can I trust these guys, right? Because anytime a new brand or item is brought in, it's some level of career risk for the buyer, right? Because they took someone out to put you in, and whether they were doing bad or not, immaterial, they were probably doing bad or they would have left them. But now they have to hope that you can execute, right? And if you stumble early out of the gate, that's not, removing uncertainty. If anything, it's adding to it. And you want to be low maintenance and highly reliable as a new supplier. The other thing that we've talked about on previous episodes, as you enter into new distribution, whether it's your very first one or you're expanding, make sure you expand logically. And this is both geographically and also make sure from a demographic profile that you're going into retailers where their shopper demo is equal or better than your brand, right? The example we often use is if you have a high-end $25 for 2-ounce skincare product, it might be awesome, but you probably don't want to be in the dollar class of trade. It's not a match. And that goes for some of the more natural and organic foods with high price points. You might not want to be in the discount food chains. Even if they loved you at a trade show and they gave you a meeting, it's their job to give people meetings, right? You have to understand where you do and don't belong. Trace, anything else before I press on?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that just because you get a meeting with a retailer doesn't mean that it's a great fit. And if a retailer says, "Oh, I really love your product, I want it," again, doesn't mean that it's a great fit. So be strategic on where you are in the retail world.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big things is you get excited about these opportunities, and it's just as important where you say no as to where you say yes. Okay.
Exactly.
So moving on, make sure that as you expand into new retailers, that you're working with someone who really knows the account. They're all different. Walgreens and CVS, they're both chain drug. I can tell you, getting into the guts of those two big organizations, getting things done is a lot different. And there are specialists at all these big accounts. Now, if you have a sales background at a large CPG firm and let's say Kroger really well, you might be able to handle that. But if you're at a smaller firm where you're wearing many hats, do you really have the time to fill out the promo documents and jack around in the portal and fill out new item paperwork? I don't know. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But it's very key that if you don't know how to work with a retailer, find someone who does, because if you fumble the ball right out of the gate, you are not going to get another shot. Okay. Trace, anything to add there?
No, I think that's just spot on. Make sure that don't be a lone wolf. Don't try and go it alone, because mistakes will be made and they will be costly.
Right. And the other thing we hear a lot from the small brands out there is, well, I'm just going to sell on Amazon. And they think that the only thing they really need to do is go to Home Depot and buy orange buckets and money will rain from the sky, and they just need to pick it up. Okay. Amazon can be an awesome opportunity for you, but it is an opportunity, not a guarantee. So again, unless you are well versed in how to operate inside that mammoth machine, there are a lot of people out there that can help you. I hesitate to use the word expert because Amazon is changing so fast that, you might have been an expert 6 months ago. And then if you took a sabbatical to learn how to play tennis or something and come back, things have changed. Tracy and I did 2 interviews with a guy named Jason Oman. He is the head of e-commerce and Amazon for Market Performance Group, MPG. Those are our episodes numbers 37 and 38. You can find them on Spotify or on our YouTube channel. but you might want to give that a listen and get very specific counsel from Jason, who knows exactly what he's doing, and he's been doing it for a long time. Tracy, anything to add here?
Nope, I think you're spot on. Amazon has definitely changed a lot. It used to be the wild, wild west, and you can throw your product up there and do well. Those are just not the way it works anymore. It's become a costly endeavor from my, just brief experience with it. So just have realistic expectations.
Yeah, and like dealing with any retailer, make sure you really understand the cost of doing business. Okay. So you know what your product costs, you think you know what you want to sell it for, but then you have fulfilled by Amazon fees, Amazon marketing services fees. You might have an agency to help you. You just need to make sure you're taking all of this into account before you start. Because, yeah, you can tinker with your price on Amazon easier than you can change with a retailer, but take your time and get that stuff right out of the box. Tracy, moving right along.
Yeah, so another key piece that you need to make sure of as we come into the new year is that you're controlling your pricing. Avoid making one-off deals with all these retailers. It becomes very daunting to track, and it can get very expensive, and you can make mistakes. So retailers are going to reach into your pocket in 2024 and say, oh, can you give me another 5%, or can you do a 25% off invoice instead of a 20%? Be aware of all the fees that distributors like UNFI and KeHE are charging. Just so you know, KeHE just upped all of their costs for 2024 for running your promotions. So there are fees to do that. Make sure that you're very aware of that. One of the things that Bruce and I really recommend is that you have a trade calendar. If you haven't developed one yet for 2024, you better get on it right now and make sure that you have one and follow that trade calendar, to the letter. So if you want to run 3 promotions during the year, make sure that they're the right timing, that they're at the right level, and make sure that you just follow that calendar. But the more you make these little one-off deals with retailers who will call and say, oh, can you give me an extra of this or that? Not only is it hard to track, it gets real expensive really, really fast. Don't you think, Bruce?
Yes, and Tracy makes an excellent point. And if you don't know what he means by a trade calendar, you can make a simple calendar on Excel with one little cell for each week of the month and carry it out, and you can come up with your own incredibly sexy color scheme for what the different promotions and ship dates mean. But what you want for each retailer is a nice, we call it a site bite that you can just look at and okay, in July, I'm running this. My lead time from my co-manufacturer is 6 weeks. I got to order it 4 weeks in advance of that. It just helps you keep things running smoothly. And you can also then evaluate the programs you ran, and post facto, when you see how the sales were and all the expenses are in, are these things you want to do again? Okay. Because you don't want to just fall into Sally mode. Sally, same as last year. You don't want to do that, especially if it's not working. Sometimes people will be lazy and they just want to repeat last year's trade plan because then they don't have to think. Well, last year's trade plan might not have worked for you. So you need to go in there, and you can't just say no. You can say, can't do that, but with some tweaks, we can do this. Again, being small, you need to be, you can't be a pushover, but you have to be somewhat easy to do business with. You're not Anheuser-Busch, you're not Procter & Gamble, you're not Nestle, but you still have to defend yourself, and data helps you defend yourself, right? These guys want growth and they want to remove uncertainty. Help them get those 2 things. What's next? Oh, it's me. Okay, so the next thing you need, as Tracy said earlier, one of the bumper stickers, it's not just sell in, it's sell through. Make sure your consumer marketing plan or demand plan is ready to go. Make sure your retailers know what that is so that they can see that you're committed to putting pressure against the consumer to drive awareness, trial, and repeat of your brand. In our interviews with retailers, a lot of them said along the similar lines, to paraphrase, you need to prove to me that you're committed to this brand before you ask me to commit. So you want to make sure that your marketing plan is ready to go, whether it's all social media and Facebook campaigns, or if you're doing local, I don't know if anyone does radio anymore. I still listen to the radio. make sure you're ready to go. If you're sponsoring local minor league baseball team, you're going to all the farmers markets because you have a natural product. Anything that's going to drive trial, which will ultimately drive people into their stores, make sure they know about it and that it's ready to go. Tracy?
Yeah, one thing also I wanted to add there, Bruce, is that we're getting into trade show season. So
Yes.
Fancy Food Show is coming up in Vegas in 2 weeks. We've got the Natural Product Expo called Expo West, which is in mid-March. Then you've got your distributor shows. So make sure that are aware of those shows. Sometimes if you can't afford to participate, because it does get really expensive, but make sure that if you can go and walk the floor, then you can get an idea. And it's a great way to do competitive analysis to see what other brands in your category are doing. So just to throw in there that look at the trade shows. There's a lot of them here in the first half of the year, and just make sure that you're aware of them. And if you want to participate, great. But at least you might want to think about walking the shows as well, just as a way to learn about what other brands in your category are doing.
Yeah, that's a great point. One of the pieces of advice we give a lot is people are like, geez, I really don't want to spend money to attend the trade show. Well, there's attend in terms of you have a booth, and there's attend in terms of walk the floor. At a minimum, you should go walk the floor, because then you get a feel. You're not listening to us, you're seeing it yourself. You're seeing how busy they are, what other people are doing, and you can make little mental notes of like, that's really stupid, and these things are really smart. And if those are guys that I'm up against, I need to tighten up.
Yeah.
Or you might say, hey, you know what? If that's the competition, I feel better about myself. So that's money and time well spent. So one other thing about marketing into the consumers, and this is something else we've heard, it's logical, but Tracy and I like to say things out loud. All of the retailers we spoke to said, if you're going to bring me a brand in a category that's established, it has to have a meaningful point of difference. I do not need, we heard them called cookie cutter brands. We heard them called cut and paste. We heard them called Me Too. So the example we love to abuse is, if you have the 16th gluten-free chocolate chip cookie, it may taste great to your mom and your cousins and the farmer's market. You sell all 24 boxes every Saturday. It's going to be another thing to try to get on the shelf at Fresh Market with 8 other brands. Okay. You have to understand where you're going to fall from a price point standpoint. But I was speaking with a brand yesterday, and they have an interesting idea, and they have a cool little name and a cool little logo. And they said, we think we have a decent product. And it's a category that's not uncrowded. And I said, you guys need to stop right there. And they said, why? And I said, because you have to have an excellent product. If we have an episode, I can't remember the number, but with Doug Hall, who's arguably one of the finest new products people in the United States for a couple of decades now. And he talks about differentiation, prove out that you beat your lead competition. He gave a percentage like 2-1. You can't just go out there and say, I'm going to do another sun care product with a formula similar to Coppertone. All right, they're going to crush you because they're everywhere and they have people and they have a ton of money. How are you different? And if the answer is we're not, save your money. Save your money. So make sure that if you have a meaningful point of difference, and if you have a product that's slightly different, but you have like, if in the day, if you had Michael Jordan, or if you have LeBron, or if you have some famous celebrity, maybe that can carry you for a while. But ultimately, the product has to perform.
Absolutely.
Tracy, I'll get off the soapbox and I'll let you step up here if you want to.
No, great points. Point of difference. The other thing I hear lately from retailers is you got to have a good brand story. That's really important. That's what they're looking for, in addition to the point of difference. And also, you have to really have a strong marketing campaign. So those are all really key points. Last thing I want to mention is category review schedules. Make sure you know what the category review schedules are for this year and into 2025. So right now, there's review schedules that are going to start to go on that you'll be able to get your product onto the shelf this year, maybe late this year. But then also there later in the year, there's going to be category reviews for 2025. You cannot miss those, because if you do, you're going to have to wait a whole nother year before you can present. So make sure you understand when those category reviews are, when you need to submit for a meeting request, when the product is going to be on the shelf, when are they going to make major decisions. Just make sure that you are way up to speed on all of those review dates and when they are.
Yeah, a couple of other things about that, which is really important. If you haven't done this before, some of the large retailers, so let's say they have a stated category review date of November 1st. They may pull data ending August 30th because they need more than a half an hour to look at things. And these big retailers have armies of analysts and computing capability, and they'll look at everything 9 ways to Sunday, but it'll come back to, how is the paper being graded, right?
Yeah.
So, and your scorecard, if you're not being a basket case shipping and all these things, you'll have a better chance of success. But they'll pull data a couple of months before. So really, your prove it period, let's just say you started on January 1st. Your prove it period may be January 1st till August 30th, even though the line review is stated for November 1st. So you just have to keep in mind all of these things that are happening, because these guys are not going to bend their schedule for you. And as we hopefully continue to come out of COVID, there'll be more in-person meetings, but there's still lots of Zoom 15-minute updates, right?
Yeah.
So the odds of you getting, as a smaller brand, getting an hour with Kroger, not impossible, but pretty low.
Correct.
Pretty low. Trace, anything else? Otherwise, I think if you're loosened up for the big finish, we're ready to roll.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us today. Happy New Year to everybody. And please follow us on Spotify, on iTunes, also on LinkedIn. And we'll be posting this episode soon. And look forward to some more great guests as we have coming up in the coming months. And I think you're going to find them interesting, fascinating, and that you can learn a lot. So thanks so much again for joining us, and Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah, good luck out there. Let's rock and roll in 2024.
Yes.